Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, October 8th, about 9 a.m. This morning here in Kissimmee, Florida. I'm doing a quick video here. Just wanted to break down the current positioning, strength, and eventual likely landfall location of what is Major Hurricane Milton. Currently, Hurricane Milton is sitting just north of the tip of the Uke, getting ready to launch and eventually turn towards the northeast, which I think is getting ready to do that just now. And it'll eventually come in at an angle into the coast. Currently, models are forecasting. I'll pull up the NHC here real quick and show you the NHC's graphic, and we'll look at that. And so currently 145 mile per hour, moving east northeast at 12 miles per hour, and it is forecasted to re-strengthen into a Cat 5. On their 5 a.m. Discussion, they predicted it going from 155, which was what it was at the 5 a.m. update, and they forecasted to go to 160. So it dropped from 155 to 145. So that is not what the forecast was expecting. So that is good news currently, but there is a lot of models showing re-strengthening and reorganizing a little bit this morning and into this afternoon before it actually turns. So, and you can see 7 a.m. So we're at 8:46 now. So it is likely getting closer and closer to that, beginning that turn. The forecast cone has shrunk, obviously, south of Cedar Key. Cedar Key is out of the cone, but they are still under a watch warning. You go as far south as it looks like Naples, maybe Fort Myers area. They're still in the cone and under watches and warnings, but the forecast is for this system to go right over Tampa or just south of Tampa and St. Petersburg area, straight through the Florida Peninsula over Central Florida, south of Orlando, into Polk, Osceola County, and then eventually into Brevard, staying as a hurricane, a fairly strong one with sustained winds of 75 plus miles per hour, obviously weakening as it goes across the state, as shear and dry air will be introduced into that. So let's go ahead and look at the models, and we'll show you some of the potential outcomes as far as landfalls and what they're showing. So we'll start with the halves. The halves are going to be the newest models. They're going to be getting rid of the H-Wharf and what we call H-Mons, and we're going to be sticking with the halves now. So we can see the initializations at a 933. I'm not sure what the pressure is. Let's look at the pressure real quick. See if I can find it. Okay, so the latest pressure was 929. That's at 7 a.m. $924, 5 a.m. Okay, yeah, I'd say that's pretty close. So we'll go through it here. You can see it kind of restructure and reorganize. Almost has two eye walls there. And then as we move, you start to kind of see maybe some dry air. Yeah, it's kind of creeping in on that southern side there. Let's look at this real quick. I like to look at these because we're really going to be focusing on the dry air and shear as that comes into it. So you can see dry air starting to intrude on that southeastern side and continuing to work out the rain on the southern side and the moisture. And as we're getting close to the landfall, it's a 946. You can see dry air really penetrate the core there just before landfall. So that's one of the things we're really hoping for, right? Because we want the shear and we want the angle to come in at a trajectory where that shear can really rip into the core of the storm, because if the core can be torn apart, it can weaken it quicker and maybe it can underperform and not be 125 miles per hour at landfall. But the same goes for the opposite of that. That we could see the core maintain strength, the core maintain the energy. We have hot, warm waters over the Gulf. We have a loop eddy. We have these loop currents that will feed this. So I don't know how well models are going to forecast this, but that's just an idea. The shear is there, the dry air is there. It's a matter of fighting. It's a push pull right now. So we'll look at a couple other ones. Actually, let's go back. I want to show you the 12Z on this. I think the 12Z or the 00Z was a little bit stronger. 938. A little bit slower too. Yeah. So you can see here that it's a lot stronger in the overnight run. I mean, a 938 at landfall, it means it took a lot longer for that dry air to really work into there. So that's the possibility. You see, that's a large spread. The new models, the 12Z models are going to be coming out, the guidance for path and strength. So we're going to look at those, not the actual runs, but the guidance, and we can get an idea if it's going to continue to trend towards possibly a weaker landfall or stronger. But at this time, it doesn't matter. We have to watch in real time. I'm just showing you some possibilities right now and what could happen. So we'll go back to 6Z. We'll look at HFAS-B. So you can see here showing a 957. So 957 at landfall, HFAS-A. So that's pretty consistent right there between both models, showing a 957 at landfall. We'll look at the precip for HFAS-B. So you can see there's hardly any rain within this core. It's going to be a very large wind event. A lot of the winds being on the southerly side. Some strong winds on the north side because you have it working with the shear. So you'll see, especially along Flagler, along the coast up there as it works across the state, you'll really experience some surge, some erosion, beach erosion, and other conditions, hurricane force winds. You know, it's going to be pretty bad. Brevard, same thing. Fortunately, depending on where this comes in, you may not see as much beach erosion. You'll get most of the winds pushing the water away from the storm. It's just a matter of positioning, right? The angle. So we'll go back to HFAS-B-A. You can see a little bit more moisture at landfall, and then drying out, really drying out. You can see, I mean, a lot of Florida gets spared by rain. North Florida, the northern central Florida is where it seems like the rain's going to be, which would be great for places like in Osceola County, where I know, and Polk, where I know they were flooded, and Meadowwoods, Kissimmee. Those areas were really affected with Ian from flooding. I know Orlando as well. Hopefully this thing comes in north of Orlando and we don't have to deal with that in our area. We really just went through that 3 years ago, so don't want to go through that again. Let's go ahead and look at the H-Wharf and the H-Mon. I will caution you that these are just models and it's not the actual forecast. 962 at landfall just south of Tampa. Again, showing a weaker system this run, but if we go back to the 12Z, I believe it shows a stronger system, or 12Z, the 00Z. I want to keep saying 12Z. A little bit stronger with the 00Z. It's a 951, 6Z, 962. So you can see there's the possibility this thing weakens more than, you know, what is forecast. It could come in at under 125. We really got to watch it today. We really got to see how much it re-strengthens, reorganizes, and then as the structure grows, does it create a ring that is going to fight off dry air to allow it to maintain that strength, or is it going to struggle to produce that secondary structure, that secondary eye wall, that so therefore it will be easier for the dry air to penetrate a smaller core? There's a lot of things that we're watching here. So we'll look at the H-Wharf real quick. The H-Wharf's the furthest north. For whatever reason, it's been more of the outlier on this system. Comes in towards Tampa, and then as you can see, it climbs to the north. It's one of the stronger models. As it goes inland, it maintains very well strength. Honestly, this to me makes more sense. It seems to maintain the core a little bit better through landfall as far as strength goes. Positioning, I'm not quite sure how I feel about it being that far north. I'm thinking more as far south as more south than Tampa, more like possibly between Sarasota and Tampa, somewhere between there, but I could be wrong. You know, the NHC forecast, let's see what the NHC shows. I'm just gonna pull up the Weather Channel because I know that it shows the line. So yeah, it brings it in just south of Tampa, which makes sense to me, just between Tampa and Sarasota. So yeah, that makes sense. So anyways, we'll look at the GFS here. GFS shows a pretty strong system at landfall, pretty close to the H-Wharf. The H-Wharf and the GFS pretty much fall hand in hand. Obviously, the GFS is just further south than the H-Wharf, but I would expect the H-Wharf to come down with that. So, let's look at watches, warnings. Let's look at the upper level steering real quick. So you can see right now, upper steering is pulling this sucker east, but eventually as this front, this trough continues to progress towards the east, this will transition. This high should build in. This is a high building in right here. This should come up to the northwest and kind of force Milton to squeeze towards Florida. So let's see here. Anything else? What do I want to talk about? Let's look at rain totals. Alright, this is the latest blended model blend on weathermodels.com. Let's look at I like to use like 06Z, 012Z. Sometimes these other in-betweens are just weird. So I'd like to think we'll be done in 96 hours. So this is through Saturday, 6 a.m. So I'd say 3 a.m. because UTC, 6 a.m. UTC. So 3 a.m. Eastern time, Florida. I mean, it's still only showing 8 inches, but I would be willing to bet, you know, we could see up to a foot in some areas in Central Florida, you know, especially here over Gainesville, or I'm sorry, that looks like Orange County. Yeah, Gainesville could see some heavier rains. I think that's, I don't know what county that is. I gotta learn my counties, guys, forgive me, but this county right here could very much see much more rain than what is the forecast on the blended models. But a lot of the southern, wherever this core goes, you're gonna be spared. You're gonna be like, where's all the rain? So I just want to take a quick look at that so we could see get an idea. But anywhere from 8 to 12 inches, you know, and then maybe even up to 15 inches in some spots. as low as 5 inches, you know, if you're just on the outer parts of the core, or especially south. But yeah, anyways, so let's see here. What else? Let's see the euro. This is the 6. That's the zeros. So the 60 hasn't come out yet. Yeah, I think that's all I've got. We can look at the EPS locations. Guidance, it's south, so that's a big deal to me. Brings a lot more of the rain into Orlando, Osceola County. Wow, that's a major shift. That is a major shift. Definitely got to consider Sarasota, and this thing even coming in further south. I looked at the satellite this morning based on just your satellite imagery. Let's pull up the GOES. And you can just see, like, there's not really much room for it to climb north. Maybe that high pressure forces it, but there's a lot of factors in play here. So, you know, Miami, excuse me, South Florida, not specifically Miami, just South Florida in general, just be on guard, be prepared. Things could change rather quickly, and you could get more hurricane or tropical storm conditions that you weren't expecting. So anyways, that's all I really have. I don't really have much more to share with you guys. To stay up to date with the most official and accurate forecast, I would encourage you to follow the National Hurricane Center, as they are the government affiliated and partnered professionals. They are certified, degreed forecasters. So yeah, I hope you guys have a good day. Continue to look to Jesus. He will help you in this time, and if you don't know him, now is a great time to ask him to come into your life, because in these times it can be scary, and without him, I can imagine what you're going through. So be blessed, and may the peace of God fall on you. Take care.